The story happens in a harsh world. In this world, the blood of the weak is always spilled by the strong. Only the most powerful people can drink that blood and live in the middle of all the chaos. In a dark, thick forest, a creature that looks like a deer is eating quietly, but it does not know it is being watched. It has already been chosen as food by hunters. Hidden in the bushes, our main character gets ready to shoot. Someone tells him to stay calm. He then pulls the bow string back with all his strength, getting ready for the perfect shot. His friend gives the signal and he lets the arrow go toward the animal that cannot defend itself. But right when he shoots, a loud noise rings through the forest. The noise scares the creature. In a panic, the older man shouts the main character's name, which is Johan. Johan appears with a silly smile holding the broken bow. His master yells at him for failing. Johan tries to defend himself. He says the bow broke much too easily. But his master snaps back that he bought the bow just 1 week ago. The older hunter starts to cry. He complains that Johan is a noble. He says Johan should not be so stuck on being a hunter. He goes on saying the young man could have learned to use swords instead of a bow. Hearing the complaints, Johan stays quiet for a moment. A serious look is on his face. Then he answers that being a swordsman does not pay money until you get a job. The master agrees about the money problem. The two decide to move to another spot to hunt. The main character thinks that he needs money to live in this bad, broken world. We learn his name is Johan. He was reborn into this world after an accident in his past life. Even though he was reborn as a noble, he is at the very bottom of his family. He will not get anything from them. Back now, his friend warns him. A pack of wild wolves appears in front of them. The wolves then charge angrily. They show their sharp teeth at the two hunters in the open area. Without thinking twice, the older hunter turns and runs away in fear. He leaves Johan behind, but the main character stays calm. He starts to think about the kind of world he was reborn into. He knows this place is a very real and dark version of a mean medieval time. The cruelty is so big that even people who have died do not seem to find peace in this empty place. His friend wonders if the bodies are from their village. Johan says it is impossible to know. The young man then says for sure that in this world the weak just pray for the strong to eat them, thinking that he tightens his fist. He is set on not becoming one of those easy targets. To avoid that end, he shouts with glowing eyes. He says the only thing he needs is a whole lot of money. He remembers when he first arrived, he hoped for a special skill or a status window. But since none of that happened, he changed his main goal to one single thing: making money. With money, he could leave this land and do what he wanted. He could become a merchant or a farmer. While he is lost in his greedy thoughts, his master calls him over to see something he found nearby. The hunter shows him a rare healing plant called imp's grass. It is great for stopping bleeding. Without waiting, Johan takes the plant from his hand. He only thinks about how costly and valuable it must be. With a funny look on his face, he thanks him in his mind for the money. This leaves his friend completely unable to speak. A moment later, Johan points to a small bag on the ground. He says the master dropped something. He picks up the bag, but the hunter says it is not his. He finds it odd since no one else comes this deep into the forest. Suddenly, the master looks shocked. His eyes are wide as if he has realized something awful. The two look up startled as they hear a strange noise from the darkness of the forest. All at once, a desperate voice echoes through the trees. It screams for help as it runs without direction. Hearing the screams and the growls of the wolves, Johan and his friend look toward the sound. Scared, they then see a little girl stuck up in a tree. She is surrounded by the pack of angry wolves. The master knows her as Del Robert's daughter. He wonders what a child is doing so deep in the woods. The wolves seem bigger and meaner than normal. They show their teeth and growl at the girl. Terrified, the hunter says they cannot fight so many wolves alone. He suggests going back to get help. But Johan stops him from running. He decides to move toward the danger. This surprises the older man very much. Joseph yells that it is dangerous since wolves hunt people, but the main character tells him not to worry. The young man says he will distract the pack so his friend can save the girl safely. The hunter is shocked. He cannot believe a noble would offer himself as bait to save a common person. However, Johan has a sly smile on his face. He has realized this situation is a gold mine. He counts at least 10 wolves. He already starts figuring out the profit he will make selling all their skins. With a huge grin, he gets ready to face his precious little money makers. Seeing the young man's attitude, his friend is completely confused. He has no idea what is going on. Then the main character pulls out his sword with a weird stance. Joseph questions his poor sword skills. Wasting no time, the beasts charge toward him, ready to attack. The young man moves in a blur of speed to meet the animal's attack. He manages to stop the first wolf with his sword. He holds back the fierce creature's charge. The beast bites down hard on the blade. It tries to break the sword with its teeth. Not willing to let go, it keeps putting pressure on the sword with its jaw. To the main character's surprise, the sword breaks from the force of the wild wolf's bite before he can do anything. Another creature attacks him from the side. Its mouth is wide open, ready to bite. In the middle of the battle chaos, the young man is surrounded by the wild beasts in a brutal scene. Joseph watches in horror. He screams Johan's name in despair, fearing the worst. Meanwhile, somewhere else, things are happening in a very different way. In the 8th territory, the noble family is checking Baltrodin village. They have a large group with them. The poor dirty villagers bow their heads in fear. As the noble's group passes by, an older man hugs a child. He tries to shield her from the scene of cruelty and sadness all around. One of the lord's women named Madame Eats complains about the bad smell coming from the common people gathered there. The family's oldest son, Philip Yates, watches the scene with a serious and cold look. The lord of the land, Jess, also complains about the stink of the place. He calls it a miserable field. Philip tells his father that Johan is not there. He offers to send soldiers to find him. Jezenates explodes with anger when he learns his youngest son is missing. During the important check, he yells that he does not care about Johan. He says the boy can meet the same sad end as his mother. With a look of hate, the lord of the land continues to curse and put down his missing son. Suddenly, Jezen stops his horse. He notices a huge pile of hay at the village entrance. He asks what it is. One of the villagers kneels, begging for forgiveness before explaining. The villagers say they covered Johan's training traps because they thought they were ugly. Jezen laughs at the idea of Johan training. He calls his son a pathetic bug as he looks at the hay, but as he looks closer, his face changes when he sees what was hidden under it. Under the hay, he finds several wooden logs. The logs have deep marks from punches and kicks all over them. Jezen is shocked to see the number of destroyed logs. He wonders what in the world this is. Back in the forest, Johan is down on the ground. The wolves surround him, biting him without stop. One of the beasts comes close to give the final hit but stops suddenly as if something is wrong. Then Johan grabs the wolf's jaw. He says that fighting with swords is not really his style. With amazing strength, he throws the creature far away. This puts the other animals on guard. The main character grins. He says that now he will fight his own way. He calls the wolves his little cash machines. He knows that in this world it is survival of the fittest. To avoid becoming food, he needs cash, and to get that cash, he needs something more. As the pack moves into attack, he then tightens his fist hard. He gets ready to show his real fighting power. What he needs is huge strength that can go beyond the limits of a normal person. Joseph watches the scene completely shocked. He cannot understand what is happening. With a direct punch, Johan lands a solid hit on a wolf's face. The wolf barely has time to react. The hit is so strong it sends several other wolves flying through the air with great ease. The young man grabs another animal by the neck. He shows a scary and huge physical power. In a fast and brutal scene, he delivers a final deciding blow to the creature that cannot defend itself. The wolf's body falls dead to the ground. Joseph watches from a distance in total surprise. The older hunter cannot believe his eyes. He wonders where that amazing strength comes from. Johan smiles in the middle of the wolf bodies. He thinks about how much money he will get for all those skins. A memory shows he had to accept from a young age that life in this new world would not be easy. His older brothers always treated him badly. They called him a bastard and shamed him for not having a mother. Because they had a higher rank, they hurt and beat him whenever they wanted to show off. Lying on the ground, young Johan saw just how cruel this world was. He saw that no one would care about him. He then knew that the only person he could depend on to live here was himself, thinking that he started to wonder what he would need to get by in this medieval world. Luckily, the main character had a big advantage: the knowledge from his past life as a student. Because of this, his head held smart ideas that people of that time could not even dream of, so he decided to use all this knowledge to help himself. He started with very hard training. The boy also made a balanced diet with superfoods. This amazed people who saw him eat. He also made an exercise plan based on modern science. He practiced martial arts up close. And so his non-stop training added up over many years of hard work. After all that time, an older and stronger Johan could break tree trunks with one punch. His determined face showed the results of all his effort as he kept training. The power of his hits was so crazy that he could pull a whole tree out of the ground. With each training session, his body showed even more huge strength and he felt new again. In the middle of the destroyed logs, he wondered if this strength was a gift or a new problem in his life. Back now in the forest, a growling sound echoes through the darkness after the fierce fight. The main character lets out a relieved breath. He looks at his hand as he gets better from the fight with the beasts. He sees the wolf bodies on the ground. He thinks this seems to be the last of the pack. At the same time, Joseph hugs little Dell. She is crying with relief at being saved from danger. Joseph sighs in relief but still looks very tired and upset by the whole thing. He then turns to Johan and scolds him. He says his actions were very risky and unsafe. But right after the hunter is touched and thanks the young man for saving the girl without a second thought. However, the main character is in his own world. He is imagining which wolf skin will get the most money. He asks what Joseph said, then he turns to Dell to see if she got hurt anywhere. Suddenly, the little girl's eyes go wide. A look of pure fear takes over her face. Behind them, a giant shadow with red eyes appears. It lets out a scary growl. Johan and Joseph turn around confused. Dell covers her face with her hands. She cannot watch. The creature shows its sharp teeth and its angry stare in the dark, thick forest. A huge monstrous wolf comes out before Johan. It seems to be the leader of the pack he beat. Joseph screams in total panic. Seeing they face a real monster, he grabs the girl. He warns they need to run because only an army could fight that thing. But the main character smiles. He turns to the creature and asks if it is the boss of this crew. He says sorry for taking out the monster's helpers. He mentions their skins are worth a lot. The giant beast stares at the young man with a look of pure hate. Its eyes glow a deep red. Johan understands the monster sees him as food. A sure smile appears on his face. The creature then opens its huge mouth. It lets out a very loud roar that echoes all through the forest. Not scared, the main character runs toward the beast. He says it does not matter what it is. Young man picks up a giant rock from the ground. He yells that this thing's skin will be worth way more money. Then with super strong human power he throws the rock. It smashes right into the monster's head. The rock hits the monster right on. It lets out a roar of pain and anger from the direct hit, but Johan yells in frustration. He scratched the animal's skin. He complains the price will go down now. With its red eyes glowing with hate, the creature glares at the main character. It growls in fury. Then the beast opens its mouth and lets out a strong howl. The howl seems to shake the whole forest. The sound is so loud the main character covers his ears with his hands. He feels terrible pain. At the same time, Joseph hugs the little girl tight to try and protect her from the deafening noise. Johan grinds his teeth and moves in pain. The monster's howl seems to hurt his mind directly. He feels dizzy and his sight starts to get blurry. He wonders what is happening to him. Suddenly, a strange vision flashes fast in his mind. He sees two warriors fighting with swords. The scene is so strong and real the young man screams in despair. He feels the pain of that old memory. Soon after he falls to the ground, he is breathing hard and confused. He wonders what just happened to him. Still a little dizzy, he looks around. He wonders where the monster that was in front of him went. To his surprise, the creature has simply disappeared without a trace in the dark forest. He then sees Joseph and Dell on the ground. They are fast asleep as if they passed out. The main character goes over. He sees they are just sleeping and that everyone is safe now. He does not know what happened, but he carries Joseph to head back. Other monsters might show up. The young man then lifts the hunter onto his shoulders. He starts walking through the dark forest. As he walks, he is sad about not being able to take the wolf skins, but he promises to come back with a cart later. The night gets darker. The full moon lights their path through the trees of the gloomy forest. As he gets near the village, he notices the lights are on. He wonders if they are looking for Dell. He then starts to daydream. He imagines his father would praise him. He imagines his father would name him as his successor in front of everyone. But he quickly pushes the idea away. He thinks maybe he can at least get a job in the guard to keep from starving. However, as he gets closer to the village, he notices something odd. His face changes completely. The light of a lit torch shows the dark. It shows a large group of people. Suddenly he comes face to face with his family's inspection group. There are soldiers and horses everywhere. The main character is completely shocked. A look of shock is on his face. He sees the mess he is in. His older brother Philip yells angrily. He asks where he has been during their father's inspection. The young man finally remembers the important event of the day. He sees he is totally in trouble. His father is on his horse. His father calls him an insulting brat. He has a look of pure disgust and rage. The lord of the land then gets off his horse. His armored boot lands firmly on the ground. Johan puts Joseph on the ground. He tries to explain he had an emergency, but his father does not want to hear it. Jezin tells him to shut his mouth right now. He holds a huge detailed axe in his hand. The father threatens to split his son's head open for daring to ignore him. He shows all his built-up anger. The light from the soldiers' torches lights up the tense scene between father and son in the middle of the night. The main character thinks to himself that he barely lived through all that. Now he has to listen to this without even getting the skins. But with a smile he sees he can turn this situation into a big chance. So Johan starts to explain. He says he was not absent on purpose. He says he was out saving people in the forest. At that moment a man from the crowd shouts Dell's name. He runs toward the unconscious little girl. With tears in his eyes he hugs his daughter. He thanks God that she is okay and safe in his arms. The man keeps crying with relief at finding his daughter safe and sound after looking for so long. Johan takes the chance. He explains the girl was surrounded by wolves. He says he fought to save her. The villagers are shocked. He says he did his duty as a knight's son by protecting them. With that, the young man bows with respect. He promises to keep doing his best for the land's safety. He even asks for the job of captain of the guard. This leaves his brother Philip with an angry look. In his thoughts, the main character congratulates himself on his great acting. He is happy about the self-promotion he just pulled off. But Geisen calls him future captain in a mocking way. He asks where the wolves are. He demands proof. The young man is angry in his thoughts. He did not expect his father to ask for real proof. Still, he tries to keep up the act. He insists with a forced smile he is not lying to anyone. He doubles down on the lie. He says he even met the legendary Great Dark Wolf. This leaves some people in shock. Jezin's face fills with rage. The lie about the legendary creature was the last straw for him. With that, his father yells his son dares to lie to his face. He threatens to rip his mouth off. Johan starts to sweat. He asks if his father wants a duel. He offers to prove his skills right then and there. He did not want to fight because despite everything, Jezin was still his father. With a confident smirk, Jezin accepts the duel. He says he wants to see just how skilled his son really is. He then orders the young man to raise his sword. He warns the duel will be with weapons only. Johan has a look of shock and surprise. He did not expect that specific rule. In his thoughts, he curses his father. His father never taught him how to use a weapon before demanding this. In the middle of the area, the lord of the land tells his son to pull out his sword to start the duel. The main character then shows the broken sword he used in the fight against the wolves. This makes his father angry. Jezin orders Philip to lend his sword to his brother. The young man agrees with some worry. As he hands over the weapon, Philip tells Johan to beg for forgiveness. He says it is the only way to get out of this alive, but the young man refuses to say sorry. He believes he did nothing wrong. He thinks a man does not run away. He then pushes his brother aside. He says he hopes to learn a lot from this duel with his father. Jezin puts on his battle helmet. He gets ready for the fight about to begin between them. The main character believes showing his skills will make his father accept him. That will prove his worth. With a set look, he focuses completely on the fight. This fight will decide his future in this family. Suddenly, his father's eyes go wide. A look of pure surprise takes over his face. A monstrous red glow comes from Johan's sword. Jizin wonders what that is. The young man then charges and attacks with his sword. It hits hard against his father's axe. The hit is so strong the blade of Jizin's axe starts to break into many pieces. The force of the blow travels down the weapon and hits the lord of the land. He grunts in pain from the shock. The hit keeps moving, showing the huge power of the main character's attack against his father. Jezin is pushed back. He digs his feet into the ground to keep from flying backward. Jezin grinds his teeth in rage. He can barely hold his fury at his youngest son's boldness. Completely enraged, he raises his axe and yells. He calls his own son a useless parasite. Johan is hit right by the violent blow. He feels the hit go through his whole body with pain. His brothers watch the scene shocked. They see their father is serious and might finish the young man off. The father then yells he never taught his son to fight because he would be useless anyway. He keeps insulting the boy. He says no matter how hard he tries, he will never be better than him. Jezin seems to go crazy. He screams the land is his and no one will ever take it from his hands. Hurt Johan wonders what has gotten into his father. He wonders if he has lost his mind from drinking, but he soon sees the blood running down his face is badly messing with his sight. Suddenly, Philip shouts his younger brother's name. He has a look of fear and worry. The main character is surprised to hear the shout. He wonders about the reason for that unexpected reaction. He then lifts his face. He glares at his father with a set look even though he is in a bad spot. The crowd of villagers watches the scene completely horrified. They cannot do a single thing. With his last bit of strength, Johan manages to stop the axe blade. He uses what is left of his sword. The force is huge. Sparks fly everywhere as the two test their power in the middle of the fighting area. But the young man's sword cannot take it. It breaks into pieces, leaving him with no weapon. Kneeling on the ground, the main character admits he lost. The pieces of the sword are beside him. Jezin then walks over. He tells his son to know his place. He says never to challenge him again. With a threatening stare, he warns if he sees him again, he will really crush his head for good. The lord of the land then turns his back on his son. He walks away, leaving him alone in shame. Alone in the area, Johan is surrounded by the crowd. They watch him in silence with pity in their eyes. In a more private place, someone says what Jizin did to his son was very unfair and cruel. Inside a church, a tall blonde man complains angrily about the way the young man was treated. Father Valberg says a knight should have honor. He asks how a father can treat his son that way. Meanwhile, Johan is getting his wounds treated. He says with a fake smile he is fine and at least he lived. The priest keeps complaining that Jezin was in full armor and probably drunk during the fight. The main character sighs. He admits to himself he never learned to fight with swords and is very weak. Valard tries to make him feel better. He says his father has a lot of battle experience and learned the family's fighting ways. The priest says a knight from the next land beat 300 servant soldiers all alone. Johan is shocked to learn a single knight can be so strong. He says that is amazing. He then thinks fighting skill is important. He did not respect his drunk father enough. Father Valard hears the young man mention the black wolf. His face changes to one of surprise and fear. He grabs Johan by the shoulders. He asks if it is true he saw the legendary creature in the forest. The main character says yes. He says Joseph and Del also saw the monster before they fell asleep. The priest is shocked and starts to pray. He thanks God. The young man does not understand anything. Valberg then grabs an old book from the shelf. He wants to show something important to the curious young man. He opens the book and explains for a long time black wolves have been a great taboo in this area. The book shows a picture of a wolf carrying a person's body in its mouth in a scary scene. The priests believe these creatures are a sign of ruin and loss for those who see them. According to old tales, black wolves always appear bringing sadness and loss to the people. Johan is quiet for a moment. He thinks about the information on the black wolves and what they mean. He does not really believe it, but he thinks the wolf was a warning about the fight with his father. The priest agrees. The priest smiles and tells him not to worry. He says the stories about the wolves are just old legends. He believes God is helping him because he is a good person who puts others first. The main character gives an awkward smile. He wonders if he is really a good person like Father Valberg thinks. In his thoughts, he admits all he really cares about is making a lot of money to live well. Meanwhile, near the Eights estate in the land of Brits, a scene of chaos and terror is happening. In the middle of fire and smoke, screams of fear echo everywhere. People beg for help. A mother hugs her child tight and screams for help in a moment of pure panic. But her plea is ignored. Something terrible is about to happen to the two helpless and scared people. In a moment of cruelty, that family's life is brutally ended without any mercy. One of the victims' hands falls dead to the ground. It shows the tragic end of that bloody night. Two knights are talking. One wonders why people try to run when they are going to die anyway. The other agrees with the cruelty of the situation. But he shows no guilt for what they have done. The hired fighters then pile up the victims' bodies. They get ready to burn everything and hide the proof. They do not care about the cruelty. They are just there to do a job and get paid in gold. In front of a large flaming gate, a knight kneels before a big and mysterious figure. He tells his boss named Karamov the hired fighters have finished the job. He hands over the Brits family ring. The mysterious man holds the ring of the noble family that was completely destroyed on that night of terror. With a squeeze of his hand, he crushes the ring. He says the Brits family name with hate in his voice. He complains he had high hopes for Brits, but the knight did not even last 2 attacks. Karamov then introduces himself as the Sword of the Holy Empire and the Emperor's representative. He says he is also the seal collector. He will punish all bad nobles on his king's orders. The mysterious warrior promises endless gold and honor to all who stand with the Emperor. With a hand signal, he orders his men to move forward. They will destroy everything in their path without mercy. His soldiers have red eyes and wolf shields. They smile and say the Eights Estate is next. Back in the main character's strange dream, the two warriors keep their strong and deadly fight. The mysterious knight blocks a hit with ease. He glares at his enemy with a look of hate. The warrior in black armor seems much stronger and better than his enemy in the fight. With a fast and exact move, he gets his enemy's weapon away. He leaves him completely open. The enemy's sword flies through the air. The knight gets ready for the final deciding blow. In one strike, the warrior's head is cut from his body fast and brutally. The knight's body falls dead to the ground. Blood pours everywhere in the battle area. His helmet rolls across the ground. It shows the tragic and lonely end of that bloody fight. From under the helmet, a dead face is shown. It leaves the viewer shocked by the scene. The view gets closer and shows the beaten warrior was actually the main character of the story. Johan then wakes up suddenly with a scream of fear. He is sweating and breathing hard in his bed. He sits up in bed and tries to calm down. Seeing it was all just a bad dream, the young man puts a hand to his head. He takes a deep breath. He is still upset by the strength of the bad dream. Ever since he saw the black wolf, he has been having the same bad dream for days and days. Unable to rest, he remembers the priest's words. The priest said the black wolf is a sign of doom and bad luck. The picture of the creature howling at the red moon keeps bothering his thoughts. The young man tries to push these thoughts away. He remembers the priest said it was just an old story. He also remembers the priest call the creature the sign of Demis. This makes him even more nervous. The main character laughs at himself. He says it is not like he did anything bad to the wolf to deserve so much bad luck. He then remembers the scene where he smashed the monster's head with a giant rock. He feels a little silly. With a sheepish smile, he admits to himself maybe he made the creature angry just a little bit. The young man then decides to put these useless thoughts aside. He will focus on his training to get stronger. On a hill with the sun setting, he starts his exercise routine with will and focus. Suddenly, a voice calls him a useless brat. It interrupts him during his heavy workout at the end of the day. It is his older brothers. They remind him of their father's words to stay quiet and not make trouble. They keep making fun of him. They call him proud for still thinking he is strong even after getting beat. The two say he is all talk and no action. They say chopping wood will not make him any stronger. They laugh at his skills. They say breaking a log is just a low-level trick. They say this with a smile on their face. Johan listens quietly to the jokes about him never being able to join the guard. He then tightens his fist. He focuses on the tree in front of him. He gets ready to show his strength. With one punch, he shatters the tree trunk into many pieces with great force. His brother's eyes pop out. Their mouths drop open in shock. They cannot believe what they just saw. The main character breaks the tree in half with his hit. It shows the result of his hard training. He then turns to his brothers with a mean grin. He invites them to say again what they just said. Scared, the two brothers run away fast. They promise to tell their dad everything that happened. Johan sighs. He calls them pathetic fools for not thinking about how they will support themselves later. He then decides not to worry about others anymore. He will get back to his training to become stronger. Suddenly, a voice from behind stops him. It says what his brothers said about their father was true. It is Philip. He walks over and confirms their father has no plan to give him any job. The main character is not surprised. He says at least he was not sent to the hanging place, which is a relief. The older brother asks if he is not let down, but Johan says he will find another way to make a living. Philip then tells a secret. He says their father is afraid of his younger brother. That is why he treats him with such hate. Johan gets quiet. His face becomes serious hearing his brother's shocking news. Philip explains his strength as a threat to their father. Their father likes sons who obey and follow orders. He keeps saying their father wants sons like him who listen to him. He says Johan is too much his own man. Jason believes one day his son's strength will take everything from him. This is just as he did to his own father. The young man is surprised by the story. But soon he laughs it off. He calls the whole thing a bunch of nonsense. Philip then asks a servant to bring a bag. He gets ready to give something to his younger brother. The servant opens the bag and shows what is inside to the main character. He is curious to see what it is. Johan's eyes open wide in surprise. He wonders what is inside the bag. The older brother explains it is a coat and a chest plate of armor. They were kept in the castle. He says he is not stupid enough to push away someone able. He says he is not like their father. With a set look, Johan listens carefully to his older brother Philip's words. Philip promises when he becomes the lord of the land he will make him the captain of the 8th Guard. Johan yells back he never starts trouble in the first place. He defends himself against his older brother's claims. Philip then throws something to him. He turns to leave. He leaves the main character alone with the gift. The older brother walks away with his servant. The sun sets on the horizon in a pretty scene. The main character watches the two leave. A strange feeling suddenly comes over him. He then looks at the armor's chest plate. He sees it is the exact same one from his bad dream. With wide eyes, he wonders if wearing that armor will lead him to the same sad end as in his dream. But for some reason, he feels he can beat this fate. He feels he can change the path of his story. He decides to trust his gut feeling even without any proof. He chooses to put on the gear he was given. He puts on the armor and cape. He feels stronger and more ready for whatever happens next. The sun goes down all the way and night comes. This brings new hard things and adventures for the young man. In a local bar, the villagers talk excitedly about the recent events in the village. One man tells everyone Johan is a pure and just hero. He saved Del and Joseph from the wolves. Others agree. They say he is far more noble than his father. His father is a drunk and a man who chases women. A man in a hood listens to the talk. He chuckles softly while holding his mug of ale. Another villager holds his mug so tight it breaks. He agrees with the bad talk about the Lord. Del's father then says drinks are on him. He says everyone can drink as much as they want. He raises his mug and makes a toast. He toasts to young Johan, the just knight who saved his daughter from danger. One of the men asks the hooded stranger who he is. He has never seen him around before. The mysterious person says in a mean way the villagers are not afraid to speak badly of their lord in front of a stranger. The two men get nervous. They are left without words. They see the mistake they just made with the new person. With a mean smile, the hooded man says their story is interesting. He asks for more details. The two villagers are completely scared by the threatening look of the mysterious figure in the bar. He demands to know more about Johan. As the night gets deeper in Baltroden village, the air feels tense. The main character walks through the village. He whistles happily and dreams of his future as a captain. He imagines when Philip becomes the lord, his golden path to glory will finally be open. Suddenly he stops and looks to the side. He seems to notice something strange in the middle of the street. He sees a drunk man passed out on the ground. He thinks a future captain cannot just ignore a citizen. With a smile, he walks over to help. He offers to take the man home, but as he touches the man, he feels something cold on his neck. His face changes to one of surprise. The supposed drunk is actually a killer who attacks him by surprise. The killer uses a dagger to his neck. The main character is shocked and frozen by the sudden attack in the middle of the village street. A small wooden house in the distance seems to be the only safe place in the dark of that dangerous night. With a fast move, Johan manages to get free from the attack. He backs away from the mysterious killer. He wonders if the attack was his father's doing, but he pushes the idea away. His father would have come himself. He then thinks of his stepmother and Philip. He also doubts his brother would do something like this to him. The young man gets upset. He cannot figure out who sent the killer to finish him off. He turns to the hooded man and asks what he wants. He has a serious and set look. The main character offers everything he has in trade for his life, but the killer does not seem interested. The mysterious man replies coldly he already has more than enough money for what he needs. Johan becomes desperate. If money is not the reason, he has no idea what the killer wants. The killer then says he will ask young Johan a question. He threatens him with his sharp dagger. He warns if he does not like the answer, he will not wait to act. The man's dagger is stained with something dark. He pushes it against the main character's neck. Johan gets nervous. He wonders if the man will kill him if he answers the question wrong. He remembers a job talk from his past life. He gets ready to give the perfect answer. The killer then gets ready to ask the question. The young man finds the courage to listen and reply. The mysterious man looks at him from under his hood. The man leans in to ask his deciding question. He praises the main character's body. He asks if he is really the son of that pig. Jessen is completely floored by the question. He does not know how to react to such a strange question. He grinds his teeth in anger. He wonders what he should say to save his life in that moment. Very nervously, he replies, sometimes a lion can be born from a line of pigs. The killer is quiet for a moment. This makes the main character even more tense about the situation. Johan wonders if he gave the wrong answer. He wonders if his fate is already sealed because of it. Suddenly, the hooded man starts laughing loudly and creepily. This leaves the young man confused. The killer says he liked the answer, but he refuses to let him go. This makes him desperate. With a mean smile, he says from this moment on Johan belongs to him and no one else. The main character is in shock. He cannot understand what the mysterious man means by those words. We learn the killer's name is Kajal. He is the poison master of the Nissos Guild. He is the greatest killer in the empire. He made his sword skills perfect through many jobs. He became known as the venomous snake. However, Kajal had a serious problem. He could not find a person to come after him to learn his skills. He looked everywhere but only found useless bugs who could never truly follow him. Some even showed they could be good but were too tied to honor. They refused to become killers. One knight refused to learn the skills. He said he would rather meet his end right there than stain his honor. Without waiting, Kagyo granted the man's wish. He killed him without any mercy. In the middle of the area, more than 30 heirs of knightly families met the same end at the hands of the master killer. He was not patient. He visited the empire's witch. He looked for a fix to his person to follow problem. The witch said the student he was looking for was in a small forgotten country land. She told him he was one of the sons of the drunk and woman chasing Lord of Eight's castle. Kagel doubted his person to follow would be in such a miserable place. In that place, 1 coin could buy half the land. The witch laughed. She said she would give back his money if her guest did not come true as promised. The killer took the bet. He knew you could not just take money from a witch. He decided to believe her. He had already wasted too much time and had nowhere else to look. But even upon arriving at the Eight's estate, doubt about the guest still hurt him. He decided if he did not like the boy, he would kill him on the spot without a second thought. Back now, Kaggle says he has no more time to waste. He says Johan will be his person to follow. He gives the young man the choice to learn his sword skills or meet his end right there at his hands. The main character is shocked by the sudden offer. He does not know how to react to the situation. In a moment of fear and confusion, he shouts and asks how much he needs to pay to learn. Kaggle gets mad and yells back he is not taking money for the sword skills lesson. Johan's eyes start glittering with greed. He sees he is about to get free lessons from a master. With his eyes shining, the young man says he has waited his whole life for someone like the master killer. Kaggle then warns him his sword skills are that of a killer, not an honorable knight. He warns learning his skills will mark him as a shame to his family for the rest of his life. But Johan yells he does not care about honor or shame. He begs the man to teach him. The killer accepts. He says he has never met a brat like this in his entire life of looking. The main character then remembers something. He asks his new master about an important detail. With eyes glittering for money, he asks if he will get an allowance if he learns the lessons. Well, Kaggle stares at the young man with a serious look. He thinks this kid really is different from all the others. At Eight's castle, the lord of the land gets ready to leave on his horse with a few guards. He says the check is over. He says he will be gone for a while. He leaves his wife and oldest son. Philip says goodbye. He states he will take care of the castle while his father is away on business. Johan's stepmother says no matter how much her stepson fights, the castle will one day be hers. But Philip cuts her off. He says the next lord of the castle will be him and no one else in his family. Jezen complains he is tired of their fighting. He tells them to do whatever they want. The oldest son then reminds him Johan still has not returned. He asks what they should do. The lord grinds his teeth in anger just hearing the name of the youngest son who went against him. Philip is afraid of his father's reaction, but he keeps his cool and waits for a clear answer. Jezen then says not to waste time on that brat. He says his life does not matter to him. The oldest son agrees and says sorry to his father. He shows his obedience and giving in. In his thoughts, Philip wonders where Johan is. He wonders what he is doing at that moment. In the forest, Kaggle says he needs to check the young man's skills before starting the training. The main character asks to borrow a sword. He explains he breaks his own too often in fights. The killer thinks the boy is careless. He thinks he does not like anything about him. He thinks about the idea of killing him. With the sword in hand, he asks his new student if he is ready for the skill test. Johan says yes with an excited smile. He gets ready to show his full skill to the master. The two face off in the dark forest. The young man takes a very strange and clumsy fighting pose. Kaggle sighs. He thinks that pose is terrible for a knight's son. He decides to kill him. The boy then asks if he can fight however he wants. His master says he can use any way. With a mean smile, Kaggle says he can use fists, rocks, or blades. It makes no difference. The main character then breaks the sword he borrowed with his bare hands. This shocks the master. The sound of the blade breaking echoes through the forest. Pieces fly everywhere. Kaggle's eyes open wide in surprise. He cannot believe the boy's crazy strength. At that moment, he sees all his doubts about the witch's guess were baseless. The sword pieces reflect the moonlight. The master killer stares at his new student. He sees the young man is monster strong. He sees the witch was right about his skill. With a sure smile, Johan gets ready to attack using only his fists and his raw strength. The full moon lights the scene. The sword pieces fall slowly around the two of them. The killer is shocked by the air pressure made by the boy's punch. He braces for the hit. He knows if he is hit by that blow, his bones and muscles will be completely crushed. And so Kaggle understands he is not fighting a human but a wild lion. With eyes blazing with fury, Johan charges forward with his fist. He is ready to attack. However, the master killer moves with amazing speed. He easily dodges the blow. Kaggle uses his snake skill. He moves in a smooth and confusing way. This confuses the main character. The young man is shocked by the master's movements. He cannot guess where he will go. The killer then attacks him with the flat of the blade. He hits him squarely with an exact strike. Johan falls to the ground from the hit. He cries out in pain. Feeling the force of his new master's attack, he gets up with trouble. Kaggle watches him from a distance with a serious, cold look. The master says he hit him with the flat of the blade. He is surprised the boy did not pass out. He praises the boy's toughness. He says if the boy had been born 1,000 years earlier, he would have been a famous hero. The killer then warns him of a big weakness. This weakness could cost him his life in the future. With a serious look, he warns if the young man does not fix this flaw, he will surely meet his end. Johan is shocked by the news. He wonders what his master means by that warning. Kaggle explains the main character cannot control his strength. He says it will be his doom one day. The young man doubts the claim. He says it is not like he is attacking himself with his own strength. The master then shows a set of daggers. He gets ready for a new challenge for his student. He takes his sword and challenges the boy to attack him again with all his strength and power. With a challenging look, he promises if the young man can break his sword instead of his own, he will give him 1 gold coin. The main character's eyes glitter with greed at the word gold. His face changes instantly. He accepts the challenge right away. He runs toward the master, yelling for him to keep his promise. The young man then gets ready to attack using a tree as a weapon he found. The crash between the two weapons is violent. Sparks fly everywhere from the force of the hit. The main character feels the kickback of the blow. He grinds his teeth against the force his master is using. Something wet comes from his eye. He sees the hit from the fight is taking a toll on his body. The young man remembers his fight with his father. He sees the situation is very much like before. Kaggle then says the boy lost to his own strength. He says he needs to learn to control it. He warns him if he does not learn to control his power, he will meet a sad and sure end. The master throws a blade piece. It sticks in the student's armor as a test of skill. With a set look, Johan understands he needs to learn to control his strength to live. Kaggle watches him. He says when he learns to control his power, amazing things will be possible. With the sword's holder, the master gives a fast and exact blow to the main character's armor. The young man barely has time to react. The holder cuts through the armor as if it were a sharp blade. He is shocked to see his master manage to cut his armor with just the holder. The killer explains when you have control of your force you can cut anything even without a blade. With a mean smile he says he can hardly imagine how strong the boy will become. The master then says that is enough talk. It is time to start the real training. He warns it will be hard. He says the young man might not even live through the learning. With a threatening look he asks if the student is ready for the challenge ahead. Johan says yes with a sure smile. He says he is more than ready for the training. At 8, castle life goes on as usual. The main character starts his training journey. Another young man in a cloak walks through the village. He watches the people and the local activity. Tired and hurt, Johan keeps up his intense training with his new killer master. He thinks he is learning to hold back, but he still finds it very hard to control his strength. Suddenly he looks to the side. He sees something that catches his eye in the middle of the castle yard. He sees a group of elven soldiers with armor and shields. They stand in front of a gate. The main character walks over and asks who they are, but one of the guards stops him from passing. Johan gets annoyed. He questions the guard's right to give him orders in this place. With a sure smirk, the soldier gets ready to say who he is and who his group is. He says they are the wolves of a kitten. They are the hired fighter group directly linked to his majesty. The main character gets excited to hear they are hired fighters. He asks about the pay. The soldiers laugh and say they earn 2 gold coins per job. That is much more than a captain makes. They also say what matters is skill, not the size of your muscles to be a good hired fighter. Johan's eyes glitter with greed. He thinks about the money and thinks about changing jobs. A mysterious man in golden armor watches the young man's talk with the hired fighters from far away. The big figure walks toward the main character with firm steps and a scary presence. Johan's eye shows the picture of the mysterious warrior. He feels a shiver down his back. A strange feeling comes over him. His hand goes to the handle of his sword without him thinking. He gets ready to pull the weapon as if facing a deadly and strong enemy. The young man is confused. He wonders why he is reacting this way to the mysterious man. One of the elven knights yells at him for daring to pull his sword in front of Lord Karamov. But the mysterious figure stops him and says it is all right. On a white horse in golden armor, Karamov stares at the young man with a scary look. With his glowing red eyes, he asks who the boy is who dared to challenge him with a sword. Johan starts to sweat and gets nervous in the big presence of the mysterious knight. Surrounded by the soldiers, he says who he is. He is Johan of House 8. Trying to stay calm, the warrior in golden armor raises a hand to his helmet. He gets ready to show his real self. He then takes off his helm and shows his face to the main character. The main character stares at him with fear and curiosity. The man says who he is. He is Karamov, a knight of the Holy Empire's Imperial Guard. Johan sees his reaction was a reflex. He put his hand on his sword without even thinking. He has never felt anything like it. Not when he saw the black wolf or when his father tried to kill him. Karamov's want to kill feeling is so strong the young man feels completely frozen with fear. It is as if he is a helpless rabbit facing a strong top hunter. He feels like food before a top hunter. Sweat drips down his face. With a cold, strong voice, the elven knight tells the main character to get out of his way right now. The young man keeps sweating. His body shakes with fear before the warrior's huge feel. A chill runs down his back. He is completely in shock from the man's presence. The hired fighters make fun of him. They tell him to be more careful next time he runs into someone. One of the elven soldiers laughs. He says he does not know if there will be a next time for the scared boy. A knight in training named Jane asks Karamov if it is okay to leave the young man there. With a smirk, he says he does not want to cause a scene on such a fine day. He then goes into the castle with his men. He leaves Johan behind alone and confused by it all. The main character stays quiet. He thinks about the sudden arrival of a knight of the emperor. Philip is shocked to hear of Karamov's arrival. He runs to greet him in the castle yard. He wonders why such an important person would come to a forgotten place like this. Out of breath, he says who he is. He is the next Lord of House 8. He asks the reason for the visit. Johan's stepmother appears with her son John. She compliments the emperor's knight on his good looks with a flirty smile. She says she would have married later if she had known he existed. She then asks him into the castle, but Karam seems to completely ignore her being there. Philip gets mad by the woman's act. He wonders if the knight is even listening to him. The warrior in golden armor then goes into the castle. He sits on the lord's chair without asking. With a cold, strong voice, he asks where Jizan, the lord of these lands, is. Philip and his stepmother are shocked by the knight's boldness. They do not know how to react. The young hare tries to tell him off for talking about his father with so little respect, but the stepmother cuts him off, saying there is nothing wrong with it as he is the greatest knight in the empire. Philip sees the woman is trying to use the chance to push her own son. Karamov then yells for everyone to shut up and get out of his sight right now. He asks for a drink. He says he will wait for Lord Jessen inside the castle. With his sword in hand, he waits for the arrival of the Lord of House 8 for a settling of scores. Meanwhile, Johan keeps up his intense training. He works on his skills with his master. Karamav takes off his helm, showing his sure face as he waits for the fight to come. The two warriors seem to be on a crash course. Their fates will cross soon. During training, Kaggle yells at his student to focus and not get distracted. The young man grinds his teeth in pain. He tries to dodge his master's fast and exact attacks. A small cut shows up on his neck. It shows he could not dodge the hit in time. The killer warns him if the daggers had been poisoned, he would already be dead. The main character says sorry. He says something feels off as Knights of the Emperor have come to the village. He finds it odd that outside knights are controlling the way into the castle that belongs to his family. With a serious face, he says it makes no sense for them to close the gates and control who goes in. Kaggle asks what he can do about it, even if the situation is fishy and odd. The master explains Karamav is the strongest warrior on the land and the central power of the empire. Johan is surprised and asks if the elven knight is stronger than his killer master. The killer is quiet for a moment. A serious thinking look is on his face. He then admits if he had to face Karamav, he would run without a second thought. The main character says you only know the outcome of a fight after it's over, but he gets a smack from his master. Kaggle yells at him to know his place. He says he can barely control his own strength. He calls him a brat who does not even know the basics of sword skills. He says he has no chance against the knight. But with a set look, the young man says he will train and get ready for whatever comes. The master sighs and accepts his stubborn student's challenge. He tells him to get back to training. The two then start to train hard. The crash of their blades echoes through the forest. Kaggle attacks him over and over. He yells for him to keep trying without giving up on the training. The young man gives his all to keep up with his master's moves and learn his skills. Kaggle keeps pushing him with fast and exact attacks. He tests his student's limits. With a furious face, the master yells for the young man to keep trying without stopping to rest. The main character wonders why he cannot hit his master even with all his raw strength. He complains he cannot even cut the sword's holder. He feels upset with his lack of skill. The killer then teaches him about the flow of force. He shows how to focus it at the tip of the sword for a strike. He tells the young man not to swing the weapon without looking. He must move the force to the blade's tip. As time and training go on, Johan starts to understand what it means to control his strength. Kaggle hears the sound of the boy's sword getting sharper. He is surprised by his progress. The training keeps going hard. The two trade hits in a deadly dance in the dark forest. The main character feels he is finally getting it. He gets ready for a deciding strike. With the right amount of force, he focuses all his energy at the tip of the sword for the attack. His eyes glow with a strong blue light. He gets ready to show his new power to his master. Kaggle sees the change in the young man. He feels the next hit will be dangerous if he does not defend himself. The two then charge at each other in a crash of blades and killer skills. With one exact strike, Johan finally manages to cut the tip of his master's sword holder. With a huge grin, he celebrates the win. He yells he managed to cut it. He says he finally got the hang of it. He says it was not as hard as it seemed at the start of the training. Kaggle watches him in silence. He thinks it must have been just a lucky hit from the boy. The master then calls his student for a new challenge. He gets ready to test him once more. With his sword in hand, he warns this time he will not hold back. He tells him to attack again. The main character uses his master's snake skill. He attacks him with an amazing blue glow. Kaggle is startled by the young man's skill. He dodges the blow with a jump back. At the last second, Johan celebrates his win. He jumps for joy at beating his master once again in training. The killer is shocked. He wonders what kind of kid this is who learned so fast. He only taught him to control his force. But the boy is already using the secret skill Serpent's Tongue. The young man perfectly took in a skill he had seen only once on the day they met. And to the master's shock, he uses it more perfectly than the maker of the skill himself. Kaggle is quiet for a moment. He thinks about the crazy talent of his new and only student. His experience tells him unless a miracle happens, he will no longer be able to beat this boy. The master of the Empire's strongest group sighs and says his student is a total monster. Meanwhile, the main character happily celebrates. He has learned the skill and secured his way to make a living. Kaggle then says his teachings are over. He will leave the forest at dawn. The young man is surprised and asks if it is already over. He has barely gotten the hang of using the sword. The master unwillingly admits his student has already become stronger than him in less than a week. He says he is happy his sword skills will not disappear. He tells the boy to live as he wishes. The killer says goodbye. He tells the young man he worked hard to reach this level of power. The main character asks if he is really leaving. The master says yes. He says he never stays in one place for long. Around the campfire, Kaggle says it is not because he is a killer but because of his nature. The boy then asks if he knows anything about bad signs like the black wolf he met. He tells him about meeting the creature and about the bad dream he keeps having where he loses his head. The main character says when the master appeared he thought he was the sign of his death. Kaggle replies bad luck has no fixed shape. He says if he had killed him that would have been the sign. Around the campfire, the killer gets ready to give some advice to his student before leaving. He tells him to find a weapon right for his strength like one made of Danny's steel. This steel is a famous magic-filled metal. It can only be found in old ruins. Since its making way was lost, weapons made from it are very rare and valuable. The young man asks if it is costly. His master says he could not buy it even if he saved his whole life. Johan does not understand the suggestion, but the master says he just wanted to show him his sad situation. Kaggle then tells him to run if he sees someone using a Danny steel weapon even from far away. The young man agrees. He says he will keep that advice in mind so as not to look down on his enemies. The killer then gets up and gets ready to leave. He leaves the main character alone in the forest. He gives one last piece of advice to the boy. He tells him not to fight enemies he cannot beat. If a fight cannot be avoided, the master says to use any way needed to win without fail. With a serious look, the young man listens to his master's words. He puts them in his memory. Kaggle then says goodbye with one last wish that his only student does not meet his end. The killer's main lesson is for the boy to run if it is dangerous and kill if he cannot avoid it. With his hands together, Johan promises to remember his master's words. He promises to live at all costs. Meanwhile, at Eight's castle, the night stays with an air of tension and mystery. A woman asks Karam if the drink is to his liking while he sits on the throne. The night visitor complains about the taste. He throws the cup away. It shatters against the wall. Karamov says the only drink better than that is in Lord Jizan's rooms. He is sad about the situation. Johan's stepmother asks him to a nicer room, but he completely ignores her. With a flirty smile, she insists. She says the Lord's room is very comfortable and he will not regret it. She says the two could have a wonderful time together, but the knight does not seem interested. With a cold, sharp voice, he tells the woman to disappear from his sight and leave him alone. The stepmother is shocked by the rejection. She tries to explain herself. She says they do not have much time. Karamov tells her Lord Jizan will arrive late at night. His eyes glow with a red light. With a mean smile, he says he was getting tired of waiting and is going to have some fun. The oven knight then shows his true plans. He gets ready for the fun known as killing. Philip hears the screams from outside the room. He is terrified by what is happening in the castle. Back in the forest, Johan feels something odd in the air. A bad feeling suddenly comes over him. With wide eyes, he wonders what that smoke and fire he sees on the far line is. He then sees the village completely in flames. He wonders why the place is on fire. Meanwhile, our boy's dad Jess returns home. He wonders what in the world is going on. One of his men says the flames look strong. He says he should head back right away. Without a second thought, he makes his horse run as fast as it can, and just like that, he comes flying up to the castle gates. He is ready to find out what happened. However, the elven guards out front just make fun of him. They call the guy a slowpoke and pig lord. They tell him to hurry up because Lord Karamo's patience is not exactly endless. As soon as the gates open, Jason's eyes go wide with pure shock and fear. The castle yard is packed with bodies all over the brick ground. On top of that, you can see the fear on the faces of the victims who never had a chance. They are completely horrified by the scene. The Lord can barely speak. He asks what this is all about. Suddenly, a giant foot in golden armor stomps down hard on the ground in front of him. Was the knight Karamov? He coldly says Jen has finally shown up and he is late. Jason breaks into a cold sweat. He is speechless. He tightly holds the handle of his axe until he explodes with rage. He yells, asking what the heck Karamov is doing there. The knight then says Jess planned an attack and treason against the emperor. Because of that, he says the E family will be completely wiped out. Jason yells this is crazy. He says it is all just a clean out to frame him. He then challenges the knight. He asks who he thinks he is to make something like that happen. Not bothered, Karamov simply ignores him. He gives an order to sound the trumpet, and then he orders them to get the family seal and clean out the whole land. With the order given, the army of elves charges forward to wipe the land off the map. Right after, the whole village begins to catch fire in a scene of pure loss. In the middle of the flames, an elven soldier walks up to a kneeling Father Valberg. He calls him cruel. Then the soldier questions him about the Lord's son who was not born to his wife. He threatens to end his life, but just as the soldier raises his sword to finish the priest, our boy appears out of nowhere. With a fast move, Johan defends the priest. He blocks the attack with his sword. Father Valberg is in shock. The soldier's sword is just inches from his neck. He looks up and knows our hero, who also calls him by name. Johan then asks what's going on. The priest says the emperor's army has gone nuts. He also adds Lord Jason has likely already met the same sad fate. Our main character is completely floored by the news that even his father might be gone. Meanwhile, the flames keep eating the village's wooden houses. Vallard says they want to burn everything. Joan says they need to get to the castle fast. Suddenly, our boy hears a known voice and stops to look around. Walking a bit farther, he finds a child on the ground, calling his name through her tears. He gets closer and asks if she is Dell, the little girl he saved from the wolves. Relieved she is safe, Johan says it is dangerous. He tells her to get out of there quickly. However, in that same instant, his eyes open wide as he sees something awful behind the girl. Dell's father was hit by an arrow while protecting his daughter, and she screams for him. Our main character is then frozen with shock and anger at the sight of that scene. Our hero then remembers Dell's father, a simple man who just wanted to protect his daughter. Now he sees the sad result of that cowardly attack on the village. On top of that, he remembers another family that lived happily and peacefully in the village. But that peace was broken and they all met a sad and violent end. He also recalls the men who were toasting in the bar celebrating life, but now their bodies lie dead on the ground. Seeing all this, our main character clenches his teeth. He feels the rage build inside him. Upon seeing Dell's small hand on her father, he makes a big decision. He then turns to the girl and asks her to stay with Father Balbert for safety. Right after, our hero stands up and starts walking into the middle of the chaos. The priest then yells desperately. He tells him he cannot go and that he needs to get out of there. but our main character stops walking and completely ignores the priest's warning. He then raises his head and sees something awful on a flag stuck in the ground. His father Jason Gon's head is on show there for everyone to see. A sign then tells them the Duke was finished for treason against the Emperor. It also warns anyone who touches the body without permission will face the same punishment. Our boy stands in silence thinking about the loss of his father and everyone in the village. On the other side, an elven soldier spots him and asks what that not legitimate guy is doing there. Their leader then scoffs thinking he had run away. He asks if he came back to meet his end. But without a word, our hero charges forward and strikes a blow. With a fast move, he attacks Karamov, but the knight blocks with his own sword. The hit of the blades is so strong sparks fly everywhere in the fight. Then our main character's sword starts to crack under the knight's force. Unable to take the pressure, the blade shatters into many pieces. Karamov then grabs the chance and attacks him with a strong blow, sending him flying. Our hero then rolls on the ground but gets back up fast, ready to keep fighting. He then rushes toward the enemy with a set and furious look in his eyes. Karamov smiles in a mean way and says the fight is quite fun for him. Our main character then grabs another sword from a fallen soldier on the ground. He goes back on the attack. He uses the snake skill he learned from his master to strike the enemy. With a quick move, he attacks with both swords at the same time. However, Karamov manages to block the attack with his Danny steel sword. Once again, our boy's swords cannot take the pressure and break. The knight then fights back with a set of fast and exact strikes. He uses several swords that float around him to attack our hero from all sides. With a final move, Karamov brings the swords together and throws them with all his might. The attack hits a stone statue that was behind our boy right on. Statue is completely destroyed by the power of the knight's attack. In the end, Karamov says the fight was very fun for him. He then finishes saying it was so good it does not even compare to a lightning strike with a strong blow. One of the elven soldiers is sent flying from the hit. Karma then says the fight is turning out to be really fun for him. With a mean grin, he asks our hero to entertain him a little more. Then he yells out, hatefully calling our boy a not legitimate son of the Ease family. Even with no weapon, our main character gets up with the help of his sword in hand. Karamov then gets ready to attack again with his giant golden sword. With a fast move, he strikes our hero's chest with a direct blow. Our boy tries to defend himself with what is left of his sword, but it is no use. The blow is so strong he is thrown far back with no chance to defend. And so Johan falls to the ground once more, completely beat and hurt. The two stare each other down from far away while our hero tries to get better from the blow. Suddenly, the knight notices something odd and looks down at his armor. He wonders if his famous Danny's armor is actually cracked. With wide eyes, he cannot believe our boy managed to pull off such a feat. For a human to break Danny's steel should be completely impossible. Angrily, he then asks who the heck this not legitimate son is who dares to challenge him. Meanwhile, our main character picks up two swords from the fallen soldiers on the ground. With both swords in hand, he charges to attack the knight once again. The knight can hardly believe the power he is feeling coming from the young man. And with a mighty blow, our hero lets out a few attacks on him. Karamov then calls our hero a mindless brute who just swings his sword without thinking. And with one blow, he easily defends himself from our boy's attack. Our main character uses all his strength, but the knight does not even budge from the hit. Johan then uses the snake skill to take a step back and get set again. Karamov sees his guess was right. The kid does not know how to block right. He sees our boy is fighting on pure gut feeling without any fine skill. With a serious look, he sees the kid is dangerous and needs to end the fight fast. He then gets ready to strike the moment our hero tries another attack. Our main character then uses his father's flag to distract the golden knight. The red flag falls to the ground and our boy grabs the chance to move forward. He stomps hard on the flag. This leaves the elven soldiers absolutely furious. Their leader shouts and orders all soldiers to attack and finish our hero. With his eyes glowing with rage, our main character gets ready for battle. And with one slash, he cuts off the head of a soldier who screams in terror. The soldier does not even have time to react. His body falls dead to the ground. Another soldier charges forward screaming, but our hero without mercy cuts him in half. The elven soldier screams in pain as our boy keeps on his rampage of payback, and so our main character walks through the fire and loss of the village. He then wonders why he is doing this and heading toward the castle. Meanwhile, Father Valberg hugs little Dell and says they need to get out of there. He then thinks going to the castle now would only lead to a meaningless death. Suddenly, he hears his name and turns to see who is calling him. To his surprise, it is his brother Philip, who is alive but badly hurt. Our boy then walks over and asks why he came back to this place. Philip tells him to run because staying there will only lead him to meet his end. With his last bit of strength, he takes off his helmet and tries to give something to our hero. With a hurt face, our main character holds the helmet his brother gave him. And with one final breath, Philip passes on, leaving our boy all alone. Our main character then remembers his father's words about knowing his place. He also recalls his master's advice to run when things get dangerous. He knows the Emperor's knight is a strong enemy, and his master had warned him. But he remembers another big lesson he learned from his killer master. If a fight cannot be avoided, he must finish his enemy without fail. With that memory, he tells himself now is the time to act, and with a newfound will, our main character gets up ready for battle. He then goes into the castle alone with his armor and sword in hand. The elven soldiers see him and are surprised by his sudden appearance. One of them asks what that not legitimate son is doing there and where the guards are. Our hero then clenches his fist and furiously screams the knight's name, Karamov. And with a strong punch, he makes a soldier's head burst and yells for Karamov to show himself. Our hero then stomps hard on the ground, showing things are about to get serious. With his helmet cracked, he faces his enemy with a look full of will. Meanwhile, Karamov's sword drips with blood, its runes glowing in the dark. The knight then says he heard one of the E's family sons had gotten away. He then recalls it was Johan's, the same one who faced him in front of the castle. But our boy says he is not in the mood for a proper hello with the guy. He then tells Karamov to just consider him a human who is very mad at him. The knight scoffs, saying he would have lived if he had run away and that his life is worthless. Then with a mean smile, he accepts the challenge, raising his glowing sword. And so he asked him to the final show since he is so eager to meet his end. With his eyes gleaming, our hero replies that's exactly what he's thinking. The knight then charges with his sword, ready to finish our boy once and for all. The two blades hit once more in a duel of pure strength and skill. With a fast strike, Karamov knocks off our hero's helmet and promises to cut off his head. He then calls him a kid and gets ready for the final blow with all his strength. But suddenly the knight is startled by something and wonders what that is. Because our main character is using the snake skill with a strong blue light on his sword. The skill shows as a giant blue snake ready to strike. The blow then lands right on the knight's arm with huge force. The hit is so strong the famous Danny's armor begins to break in half. With a direct hit, our hero's sword strikes the knight right in the chest. Karamov then screams in pain and shock, unable to believe what just happened. In the knight's eyes you can see the picture of our boy's clenched fist. Without wasting a moment, he follows up with a direct punch to the golden knight's helmet. The blow is so strong the hit moves through Karamov's whole body. On top of that, the force is so great the knight's helmet shatters into pieces. Karamov then cries out in pure pain, feeling the hurt of the young man's huge blow. His sword then falls from his hand and gets stuck in the brick ground of the yard. Hurt, he hunches forward, roaring in pain while holding the spot of the blow. With wide eyes, he stares at our hero, trying to understand what happened. He then knows Kel's skill and sees the kid had been hiding his skills. Meanwhile, our main character walks over with a feel of pure will and fury. Karamov then starts coughing hard, showing the wound was quite bad. A dark pool begins to form on the ground, showing how serious the situation is. The knight keeps coughing non-stop, barely able to stay on his feet in the fight. Wearing his brother's helmet, our hero stares him down with a cold, serious look. With no strength left to fight, Karma finally falls to his knees on the ground. Our boy then walks over and asks why he did all that to his people. The beaten knight replies it was all for the good of His Majesty the Emperor. He then explains the Holy Empire is in danger and the Emperor acted to set things right. He then talks about his sword, which is also known as the Karma of Sword. Even so, he keeps coughing hard, unable to get up from the ground. Suddenly he starts to laugh and says he is truly moved by Johan. He says he wandered through years of battles but never met someone so strong. For that reason, he asked him to join the Empire and fight by his side. He then says His Majesty needs a skill like our boys, and he promises the Empire's wealth will bring him glory and lots of gold. He also promises a large and good land for him to rule as he pleases. He says His Majesty himself will give him the title of knight. And so he asks him to become the Emperor's sword alongside him. Our main character then stays quiet, thinking about the tempting offer. He then thinks this is the life he always dreamed of with tons of cash. But he finds it odd because even though it is everything he ever wanted, he feels nothing. With a look full of fury, he then simply says no to the knight's offer. Karamov is completely shocked. He does not understand the reason for the young man's refusal. He yells the knight not only took out his brother but all of his subjects. The knight then asks with hate if he is talking about the common people. He cannot believe our boy is turning down the offer just because of them. With a mean and hateful grin, he clenches his teeth in fury. He screams it does not matter if he took out a few common people because they are just bugs. The knight then yells the weak exist to spill their blood for the strong. Hearing that our boy just clenches his teeth with a serious look on his face. He then says sorry to his master because just this once he is not going to hold back. And so with all his strength, our main character charges forward for the final blow without waiting. The punch lands right on the knight's helmet, which shatters from the force of the hit. With a clenched fist, our boy shows all of his will in that deciding blow. And in the dark, the pieces of the helmet fly in every direction. The knight cannot take the hit and his hand falls dead onto the brick ground. Our hero's hand is also badly hurt, but win has been secured. And so our main character stands before the fallen body of the golden knight. Our boy then turns his face with a tired look after everything that went down. But the knight still has the strength to speak and calls him a fool for not taking the offer. He then warns now there is no turning back after what our hero has done. Because our boy broke the Emperor's sword by beating his best knight. And because of that, his life from now on will be filled with pure pain and suffering. But now with a red liquid dripping from his fist, we see he has found a new purpose. He then thinks those bad people wiped out everyone in his land and burned it all down. And even if the world turns against him, our boy simply did what had to be done. So even if everyone curses him for it, he will never be sorry for his choice. Because he feels this is his new journey and the start of a new path to a different future. The story continues in a tense interrogation room where a terrified witness swears that the target did not simply kill Sir Karamov but ripped his head off with his bare hands. The commander finds the claim hard to believe since there is no body to confirm the story, yet the fear in the witness's eyes is undeniable. Refusing to take any risks, the commander orders an immediate hunt for Johann Eitz. This is not a normal arrest. The soldiers are warned that Johann possesses monstrous strength, capable of tearing through Dana's steel using nothing but raw power. They are told to treat the mission like hunting a dragon by sealing every road and forcing him to run until exhaustion brings him down. At the same time, Johann is already on the move, following his brother Philip's instructions to head northwest toward the hunting grounds and locate a stable. However, he makes the journey far more difficult by carrying Sir Karamav's corpse and armor on his back while running. Johann believes that hiding the body will buy him time, but the crushing weight rapidly drains his stamina. Deep within the Black Forest, he finally collapses and digs a shallow grave for the fallen knight. Despite Karamav being a twisted enemy, Johann feels compelled to bury him properly, unwilling to abandon his sense of duty. Before covering the grave, Johann inspects what he took from the knight. The armor is valuable, but the real prize is a sword forged from legendary Dana steel. It is light and perfectly balanced, yet when Johann draws it, he notices a chilling inscription that reads that it is the one who recovers crests. The blade gives him an unsettling feeling, as if it were his natural enemy, but with no other option, Johann takes it and continues onward. He eventually reaches the stable, steals a powerful warhorse, and names it Philip in honor of his brother. His escape does not last long, as the soldiers spot the faint shine of Dana's steel cutting through the darkness and immediately resume the chase. Johann rides through the night as arrows whistle past him, pushing the horse to its absolute limit in a desperate attempt to escape. When he finally finds a quiet place and stops to rest, his luck reaches its lowest point. A massive black wolf emerges from the shadows and blocks his path. Completely exhausted and barely able to lift his arms, Johann knows he cannot defeat a monster in his current condition. As if the situation could not be worse, the pursuing soldiers arrive at that very moment, trapping Johann between an army and a deadly beast. Just as Johann accepts that this may be the end, the impossible happens. The Black Wolf completely ignores him and instead charges straight into the soldiers. Chaos erupts as the beast tears through the knights, creating a path of destruction that opens an escape route. Johann realizes that the monster is clearing the way for him, and he does not waste the opportunity. Ignoring the pain, he spurs his horse forward and flees while the wolf continues slaughtering his pursuers. As Johann rides into the darkness, memories of his childhood flood his mind, including his training, his friends, and the village that raised him. With a final silent farewell to Eight's village, Johann rides onward into the unknown, leaving his childhood behind forever. Johann is running on nothing but sheer will. It has been 3 days of non-stop pursuit, with the wolves of Akite hunting him without rest. He has not eaten, has not slept, and barely has the strength left to lift his sword. Every step feels heavier than the last. Just as he thinks he might finally slip away, he runs straight into another nightmare. A heavily guarded checkpoint completely blocks the road ahead. In his current state, forcing his way through would be suicide. Then Johann notices a small miracle approaching the gate. A trade wagon escorted by armed mercenaries is rolling toward the checkpoint. It belongs to the Katana Trading Company. With no other option, Johann forms a desperate plan. He will disguise himself as a traveling peddler and blend in with the caravan to slip past the guards. As Johann approaches, the mercenaries immediately tense up. One of the rookies nearly attacks, assuming Johann is just a lone traveler. Before he can move, the leader named Goran stops him. Goran takes one sharp look and sees through the disguise. A real peddler would not be wearing a full-plate helmet or riding a warhorse. But the biggest threat hangs at Johann's waist. The sword gives off a faint purplish sheen, Dana steel. Goran warns his men that if a fight breaks out, that blade would cut through their armor effortlessly and they would be dead in seconds. Johann rides up calmly and introduces himself to the caravan leader, a catfolk merchant named Sir Eldons. He claims he was attacked by bandits and lost all his money. In exchange for food and safe passage to the next city, Johann offers to help guard the caravan. Eldons quickly weighs the situation and sees an opportunity. A free bodyguard who clearly looks dangerous is too good to pass up, so he agrees to let Johann join them. However, behind Johann's back, Eldons secretly signals his mercenaries to kill him the moment he tries anything suspicious. The real danger appears at the checkpoint. The soldiers stop the wagon and announce they are searching for a runaway trader. They demand to inspect everyone. One soldier's eyes lock onto Johann and he orders him to remove his helmet and show his face. Johann tries to stall by claiming he has a skin condition, but the soldiers laugh and mock him, demanding to see his so-called ruined face. Johann's hand slowly moves toward his sword. He knows that the moment the helmet comes off, blood will be spilled. But just as the situation is about to explode, Eldon steps forward without a hint of fear. The catfolk merchant launches into an angry tirade, threatening to file a formal complaint against the soldiers for delaying the mighty Katana Trading Company. The mention of political consequences immediately terrifies the guards. Not wanting trouble, they back off and allow the caravan to pass. That night, the group sets up camp on the other side of the checkpoint. Eldons tells Johann he can finally rest. Completely exhausted, Johann collapses and falls into a deep sleep, believing he is safe for the first time in days. But the moment Johann starts snoring, the atmosphere changes. Eldons pulls out a piece of paper, likely a wanted notice, and his friendly expression disappears. A twisted grin spreads across his face as he turns to his mercenaries and quietly gives the order to surround Johann and strike him all at once. Johann escaped the army by a miracle, only to fall asleep surrounded by people preparing to stab him in the back. The last thing Johan feels is relief as he finally collapses into sleep after days of non-stop running, believing he has reached safety at last. It is a fatal mistake. The moment Johan starts snoring, the supposedly friendly merchant Eldens is already making his move, quietly ordering his mercenaries to surround the sleeping knight and stab him all at once. Even before the ambush begins, tension is already high among the mercenaries. One of them, Gamson, complains about having to take night watch, arguing that Johan should be standing guard as well. He calls it unfair that a stranger gets to sleep while they stay awake. The leader, Goran, immediately shuts him down with a cold reminder of reality. He asks if Gamson is seriously suggesting they trust guard duty to a man they just met, warning that Johan could slit their throats in their sleep, steal their supplies, and disappear into the night. Suspicion fills the camp. In their minds, Johan is not a guest but a ticking time bomb, and they decide it is better to kill him before he makes the first move. What they do not realize is exactly who they are planning to betray. Johan is not just a strong knight but a proven tactical genius. A brief glimpse into his past reveals a military commendation awarded for executing a strategy known as defense in depth during a large-scale training exercise. With only a small unit under his command, Johan successfully shut down an enemy force many times larger than his own. He is the kind of man who thinks several moves ahead, and the mercenaries are about to learn that they are not playing a simple game. They are facing someone who understands the battlefield better than anyone else present. Suddenly, Johan jolts awake. Something feels wrong. The air is tense and his instincts scream danger. His first thought is that the wolves of Akite have finally caught up to him. Without hesitation, Johan springs to his feet, adrenaline flooding his body as he prepares to warn his temporary allies. He throws off his blanket and rushes forward, shouting that he needs to alert the mercenaries. But the moment he reaches them, Johan freezes. None of the mercenaries are watching the forest. Every single one of them is facing him. They were waiting for him to wake up so they could finish the job. The truth crashes down on Johan in an instant. He did not escape the Empire just to be cut down by a group of greedy men. He thought he had found safety. He thought he could finally rest. Instead, he walked straight into a trap. And now he stands surrounded by people who planned his death, with an unknown danger still lurking in the darkness beyond the firelight. Johan stands locked inside a circle of betrayal, surrounded by mercenaries who no longer look like greedy killers but like terrified children frozen in place. The ambush completely stalls. Eldens, the catfolk merchant, stares at Johan in pure horror as the realization hits him that he just ordered his men to stab a walking mount. The mercenaries begin whispering among themselves, shaking with fear, worried about the grudge Johan will now hold because they treated him poorly. Poorly is a strange word for attempting to murder someone in their sleep. Trying to salvage the situation, Eldens steps forward, forcing a smile, but his voice trembles as he greets him by name, calling him Sir Johan of House Yates. In that moment, Johan understands everything. The act is over. His fake identity has been completely exposed. Eldens desperately pretends nothing happened, thanking Johan for protecting the caravan and claiming he must have had a rough night. Johan does not respond with anger or confusion. He simply stares at Eldens with a cold expression and demands an explanation. The pressure is unbearable. Eldens finally breaks and begins apologizing repeatedly, bowing his head and blaming the situation on poor accommodations and misunderstandings, fully aware that he nearly provoked someone capable of wiping out his entire crew without effort. Then Eldens reveals the truth and everything changes. They were not trying to rob Johan, they were afraid. Eldens and his caravan are not ordinary merchants. They are fleeing from the Empire just like Johan. Their lands were attacked not by bandits but by the infamous wolves of Akite, and the slaughter only worsened when a noble executioner joined the assault. The noble executioner was Sir Karamav, the very man Johan had already killed. Eldens explains that after their defeat, the Imperial army labeled them rebels and began hunting them down relentlessly, killing men, women, and children without evidence or mercy. Living in constant fear of the Empire, Eldens believed that when a powerful knight with a massive bounty appeared before them, Johan was not an ally but an assassin sent to collect the reward. Humbled and shaken, Eldens looks at Johan with regret. He realizes that his fear nearly caused him to kill the one person who despises the Empire as much as they do. Johan, branded a traitor and hunted by the Empire, has unknowingly found himself among people running from the same enemy. His fight is no longer just about survival or revenge. From this moment on, they are all fugitives of the same war.